Well, for the past couple of days, most of, shall we say, the some of the stories that have been covered around Elon Musk giving Nigel Farage, or at least meant to be giving reform, a over $100 million. Um, yeah, 100 million. That would be, I think, the largest political donation ever in the history of the UK, but it would also be the largest outside political donation in history. So this does raise a lot of questions, and there have been, quite rightly so, questions raised by people in government saying, well, actually, we need now to look at the rules. And I think it's well overdue to really have a look at these funding rules. So we'll see what happens on this front. But I do hope that they do sort out these funding rules because they really, really need to be looked at quite definitely, quite significantly. And even if this, doesn't turn out to be real, let's say Musk doesn't give him this amount of money, or even gives him a lesser amount of money to reform UK, there should then still be questions as to why on earth is Elon Musk, again, not a citizen of the UK, giving to a political party. That should raise a lot of questions. What does he want to do? Musk is not, the best when it comes to politics. Hopefully, maybe Doge keeps him busy for the next 4 years, and he just, gets lost in that job or the non-job with, Vivek and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm sure those meetings are going to be absolutely fun on a bun. I'm totally not sure they're not going to come up with some really wacky ideas. And hopefully, America, they don't pass these things because, oh boy, um, yeah, they're they are going to come up with probably some fun and wacky ideas, and they're probably not going to be very good at all. So, bizarrely, then coming back, back across the pond, back to the UK, Will decides to ask the question today: Is Elon Musk the real leader of the opposition? I think Kimmy Badnock might disagree, although she's probably not going to be leader too much longer, given the fact that she's already being said to be a disappointment in this. So we'll see what Will has to say about this and this political donations. I have to wonder if he will be questioning the many political donations that we've seen to the Conservatives throughout the year. Why, those often are, remaining hidden and allowed to be kept secret. We've seen the Taxpayers Alliance, a very infamous think tank that gets funded by God knows who, but has a lot of unfortunate undue influence and gets asked to be on all manner of talk shows all the time. So Will bring any of that stuff up? I don't think so. But before we do go jumping into this, please do, of course, have a check out the links below. There's the Patreon page, there's the Buy Me Coffee link where you can buy me coffee. There's the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. So thank you very much to everyone who does help and support the channel that way. So let's crack on then into this. So amongst the many pieces of good advice that I was given by our former editor, one of the best ways that you should never believe anything you read in the Sunday papers. And accordingly, conservative home readers should apply that now very heftily pinch of salt to the suggestion in the Sunday Times that Elon Musk plans to give £100 million to Nigel Farage as an early Christmas present. So then you have the prospect of, well, what happens if he does go through with this? What if he does give this money to reform to Nigel Farage? Because all of a sudden, reform would then have a heck of a lot of money to do God knows what with. God knows what with. And that would be a very significant impact on our economy, on our politics, not economy, but it had a very, very big impact on our politics. So it is is a significant problem. It should be treated as an outside source interfering in our politics. Even if he doesn't go through with it, it does go to once again show that Musk is a real present danger to people's politics, especially the countries he doesn't live in. Should be taken seriously. Now, yeah, should you apply it with a hefty pinch of salt? Probably so, but you still should take this, I think, for what this really is. That's genuine interference in our economy. If imagine for a second if he had said this about giving this to Labour or Keir Starmer, Will and Conservative Home would be wetting themselves at the sheer suggestion of this. But of course, no, they've got to try and downplay it. So this continues. Musk, of course, retweeted the approving the post suggesting that Reform UK would win the next election. So saying, leading businessmen and Conservative Party officials now believe that there is now a credible prospect that he is now preparing to give £100 million to Farage in what is described as the biggest FU Starmer payment. The pair are, of course, said to be in close contact. Musk admires Farage and wants him to succeed. Again, we should be very, very cautious of this happening. This isn't something, we should just dismiss. We should be worried about this. This is one of the things we need to be sort of really be using to go, okay, yeah, we need to, we need to be sort of, tightening the rules around here, making sure that, if he does go through this, that this doesn't happen. So is this just tittle-tattle? The often obviously well-oiled musings of an old greybeard donor all patched together with a couple of tweets and dispatched to a few empty column inches? Or is this actually a genuine prospect? If it is the latter, it would not only put literal rocket boosters beneath Britain's third party, but it could be disastrous for the Tories. It should worry Kimmy Badenoch much more than Keir Starmer's latest relaunch. And this is why I am shocked Will isn't more panicked by this, because that is true. The right-wing vote in the UK is split. It's around 25%, and that is now split. And you cannot win any general election so long as that vote is split. And for years, the Conservatives got away on winning many elections because the right-wing vote was not split. Now with Reform, the vote is split. Their prospect of winning future elections without forming a coalition with maybe Reform or generally like destroying Reform politically in some way, the Conservatives haven't got a chance now. But we've seen big moves, proportional representation. If you look at Movement Forward, talking about some of the stuff that's happened there, maybe we'll do something else about that in another video. But anyway, back to this. So, being, of course, now Tesla's CEO and Twitter's owner, and of course, the world's wealthiest chap, makes Musk very busy enough, when not, of course, celebrating Thanksgiving with the Trumps, plotting the colonization of the solar system, preparing his new department for governmental efficiency. Again, even Will can't bring himself to call it Doge, or by tackling birth rate decline. But in his few spare moments, Musk now appears to be doing nothing else than trying to make Starmer's life at least a bit more difficult. Musk may have well got along well enough with Rishi Sunak to actually sit down for one of the softest of softball interviews. Disappointing to see now a fellow tech bro now turfed out. He has now developed a particular animosity towards Sunak's successor. From the Southport riot onwards, Musk has used now every available opportunity to broadcast his over 206 million followers to the latest travels of two-tier Kia, which again we should be thinking very seriously, because he has this massive information network that we know full well is dominated to making him look good, to promoting things he wants to see, to even negatively affecting parties that he doesn't want to see. This is why Labour really, really need to keep their profile on X, not get rid of it, but move over to something else, move over to Threads, move over to Blue Sky, start posting on there. But you know, uh, Twitter becoming a bastion of free speech under Elon Musk, has not happened. So, with farmers, of course, treated like Kaluas, I don't even know, and of course, prisoners now walking free as ordinary folk are now locked up for their free speech. The people of Britain have had enough of a quote tyrannical state police. Musk promoted the petition calling for a new general election, having previously said that civil war was now inevitable in Britain, but at least he's come around to now a peaceful transfer of power. Again, you would think, bear in mind that it is obvious Musk has now abandoned the Conservative Party. He now sees Nigel Farage as his biggest ally. Will shouldn't be downplaying this. What Will should be doing is writing a piece, having an attack at Elon Musk. That's what he should be doing, because now this is almost gonna, attract more people to join Reform. I guarantee you it will attract more people to join Reform. We did a thing recently about the brofluencers, or else I will be doing on the Pony Club today, about the brofluencers and about that thing that's going on there, because that's something that we need to address as well, for certain. So, why does Musk, of course, hold a very much particular dislike of Starmer? Bear in mind, Will, you should be doing, why does Musk hold a particular like, or at least a fondness for Farage? After all, if you don't want people for vote for Reform, maybe you could be using this as an opportunity to attack Reform and showing your conservative audience maybe they shouldn't be thinking to switching to them. But I don't want to tell you how to do your job, Will, but it seems like I am here for once. Anyway, I can't imagine, of course, he loses too much sleep over Labour's plans to, of course, fiddle with the internet. Having made Twitter now a safe space for all manner of fringes, he must see the government's now heavy-handed response to August's disturbance now as a genuine threat to his principles. More importantly, winding Starmer up is a laugh. No, we should actually be really take that quite seriously. Those riots that were encouraged, egged on by Twitter at that time have just shown Twitter is terrible for any government, because if disinformation can spread like that and encourage those types of scenes, then yes, that is now a potential threat to our country. Maybe we should be just going, well, okay, tell you what, we're just going to block X. We're just going to block Twitter. Sorry. No more Twitter. Wouldn't be the biggest loss in the UK, to be honest, at this point. So, having helped Donald Trump back into the White House, it would only be, of course, natural for Musk to wonder if he could now do the same for his best British pal. After all, the months Dominic Cumming spent trying to get Silicon Valley to show very little interest in his startup party, it would be quite amusing for Musk to give Farage millions for now bumping into him at the Mar-a-Lago bar. Money, of course, doesn't always buy success in politics. If it did, Kamala Harris would be the president-elect. Britain would be a member of the European Union, and Jimmy Goldsmith would have received more than 811,000 votes for the 20 million he spent on the referendum party at the 1997 general election. Would such a big donation ever, of course, get past the Electoral Commission? Bear in mind, money does have an influence on politics. One of the big things that the Conservatives will say, because they receive and have received for years huge, donations of this type to their political parties. Money does have an influence. Never let anyone sell you on this idea that, oh, Kamala Harris should be the president-elect if money, buys. It doesn't guarantee you success, but more often than not, yes. Yes, it does. It will buy you a lot of success in politics. But of course, this is when they bring up oh, but what about Kamala? What about the referendum? These types of things, yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but unfortunately, um, that's not the norm. you know, that's not the norm at all. So, if it did, of course, the money would be transformational. Richard Trice himself has said that whereas the Conservatives spend only 35 million annually, Reform UK shells out at least more than 1.5 million, largely from his own pocket. And yeah, what does that do? That allows them to buy information, ads, all kinds of stuff that will just continually seep on in. They know that if they want to win the next election, they have to be constantly in the news, in the headlines, in people's thoughts, constantly, every single moment, every single time. That is why they are, splashing the cash. And yet, Will's not worried about that because, well, the Conservatives spend about 35 million pounds. you know, for someone who just said, money doesn't influence politics, the Conservatives and Reform seem to shell out quite a lot of money when it comes to politics. So back to this. So this 100 million is, of course, about 78 million pounds. It is even a fifth of what would give, of course, Reform even more money, and they know what to do with it. Bonsdales would now prepare for some very long lunches. Musk, of course, not only brings, of course, the deep pockets of a squillionaire to the ear of the world's most powerful man, he also has a very unique platform. Americans now increasingly perceive Britain as an Orwellian basket case. It is because Musk has pushed that impression to such a far wider audience than any New York Times lament has ever managed. Soft power means very little in the trenches of the meme wars. So, should we not be taking this seriously then? Because Musk seems not to. Well, at least Will doesn't seem not to at this moment. Yeah, this is kind of a big thing. If this is the type of thing and view that Musk has pushed, what then would Americans now perceive the UK? If we were to go and do something, maybe soft power wise or something like that, maybe of course we continue to support Ukraine. How then does that rest of the American public then view the UK? Do they then say, oh well, we want to see UK get sanctioned, we want to see more tariffs on the UK? This type of stuff does and could potentially lead to political, maybe even economical consequences. Kind of important, Will. And if you are, he has done this, you should care about this as well. You should care about this as well. Because here's the thing, those riots would have happened. Those riots would have happened regardless. If Rishi Sunak had somehow managed to win, those riots would have still happened. I'm very, very confident those riots would have still happened. And would you be wailing now at the idea of Musk doing this, painting Britain like this? No, I don't think you should be writing so favorably like that, to be honest. So Musk's, of course, influence is inescapable. Every tweet, of course, in Starmer's direction reaches now an infinitely wider audience than the idle lobby briefing to the old media. Hence why Nigel Ferguson is now aiming to convince Musk that his gal Kemi, not Farage, deserves this largesse, or this largeness. I think that I can't remember how you sort of say that now. With, of course, CCHQ now increasingly decrepit, Nigel Hudson would obviously would not be opposed to a few Musk millions and advice on just who to ask. Again, very true. You'd think Will would be writing, decrying Musk on this, but no, he's really not. It's kind of weird. As I've said before, Will often seems to go through two phases. Either a conservative midlife crisis, which he seems to be going through in this one, or it's a Brexit midlife crisis. um, but there you go. That's just Will in his writing style that he has. So let's get back to this. So it would, of course, be certainly much more helpful to work with Musk than against him. British politics promises to be more turbulent than a loop-de-loop in the Bermuda Triangle. The future is, of course, looking distinctly German. Labour loses votes to parties of the left and populist right, allowing us back into office in a term on a low vote share. Why do you think you're instantly going to get back into office? Fascinating question I would love to ask these people, like, instantly, because they were saying this after 1997, didn't happen after 1997, and they were wetting themselves exactly the exact same way after 1997, in this exact same way. But again, maybe we'll actually ask that question maybe one day. So the obvious caveat now is for being at least being up for 4.5 years out from the next general election. It would hardly, of course, be surprising to see Labour even come third or fourth next time around. Even third or fourth. Okay, that's really optimistic for you there, Will. But just goes to tell you there's still delusions in the Conservative Party, still running strong. They entered now office historically very unpopular and are now only becoming more so as they add to our failures on the NHS waiting list, living standards, immigration, and their own pious pursuit of national humiliation. Maybe we should, address who started all those problems in the first place, Will, and why Labour is now having to try and solve all those problems that you guys created. Anyway, the real fight to replace this party will be to replace them at least in 2029. And if Badnock thinks that she needs to only do the bare minimum to assure the pendulum swims back to us, she will be now in for a very rude awakening. Reform looks to set now to overtake us in membership even before the local elections, where Labour have to be extraordinarily very bad for our seat total to go in any direction except down. Again, who are they missing here? Lib Dems. Like, they lost more seats to the Lib Dems than they did to Reform. But still, they just treat Lib Dems as if they're not there. And it's just like, okay, I mean, I'm pretty sure that suits Ed Davey perfectly fine, to be honest. So, as the Tory MS now pilot Plaid Cymru and, of course, Reform are now projected to push us now into fourth place at the next Senate election, our chance now to permanently cement the allegiance of the Vote Leave coalition was then sacrificed to our concerted effort to ignore the 2019 manifesto. Yeah, you ignored it massively so. Again, promises of leveling up never fulfilled, but there you go. Badnock's, of course, immigration tedimity leaves, of course, the door now open to Farage. The Overton window is getting really hearty push. Musk's backing would, of course, give Farage the very big bucks. It would be, of course, be no guarantees of success. Again, you can see, as we said, not a guarantee, but it would give you a heck of a lot of resources and give you a very good chance at success. Let's not, wipe that out. Ben Habib has now become the latest victim of the ego of Clacton's occasional MP. Yep. Ben Habib and Nigel Farage are fighting, which is, again, quite good. He's now officially left Reform because of this. He has hitherto been very constrained in popularity by his titular paradox. Even if all Reform needs from him is cash and the odd retweet, don't rule out Farage falling out with his new patron, or even Musk losing interest. But if he chose to, Musk has the opportunity to now be a cross-continental political player, even beyond the Lord Belverbrook, or even Rupert Murdoch. Why this? mostly because, you know, conservatives love Rupert Murdoch because he supports conservatives. So, Will's got nothing to say about, that type of influence that, Rupert Murdoch has in the UK. You know, maybe this does raise all sorts of kind of opportunities for maybe where we should be looking at tightening these rules, looking at what influence, what donations get made. It opens up this whole can of worms, which would make a far interesting article, I think. And Will has not even attempted to even go there. He's ignored that completely. But anyway, he continues. So whoever throws, of course, his weight behind, he can now do far more to make Starmer's life a misery than anything we could at least dream up. Again, you're massively assuming that Starmer cares. I don't think he does. In a fight between the dreamless human rights lawyer and, of course, a billionaire booking flights to Mars, I know who I'm backing. And you would be an idiot to back that billionaire who's booking flights to Mars. Well, because he's not a British citizen. Doesn't really have, a lot of really good ideas, to be honest. Musk is, of course, a great man. Is a great man of history. He's not a great man of history. He's not going to go down that way. That's for sure. A Napoleon in an Occupy Mars t-shirt for 3 decades, betting against him has been a very stupid idea. From space travel to AI. Really? Again, he had nothing really to do those. He just happened to fund those companies. And as Neil deGrasse Tyson has said many times, if the government actually gave that money that it gives to SpaceX to NASA could achieve so much more than it currently is. Because everything that SpaceX so far has done, NASA has already done and done better. But there you go. Anyway, he is, of course, now at the center of very fundamental shifts driving mankind either towards enlightenment or destruction. Compared to that, winning a general election of an imperial in an imperial province would be a doddle. All hail the God Emperor. Yeah, Will getting in on the memes right at the end, and unfortunately, there's no comments. I think there were comments because I'm sure it showed there were comments earlier on. Unless they didn't. Oh no, here they are. Yeah, it says here, thought-provoking article. History tells us that both Reform and the Conservative Party would be well advised to avoid going into coalition with one another. I don't know if there's any good comments this time around. Yeah, someone said, so that's what take back control meant. I always wondered. Yeah, auctioning off your country now to the highest bidder, or just or an asset stripper. Yep, Farage seems to be delighted to be a pay agent of a foreign power. Again, that's the article, quite frankly. If I was Will, and I was in Will's shoes, the article I would have written would have basically been Elon Musk has said this. Elon Musk is not the guy we should be, cozying up to anymore. He's done a lot of really weird and crazy stuff. Opportunity to have a go at Nigel Farage again, and of course, maybe to bring up that maybe the Conservatives should actually care about money in politics. Just a thought there, Will. Just a thought. But as always, let me know what you think down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.